Hey, you're,
Took forever. It's saying we're going live right now. We're live. We should be live. All right, we should be live. We'll see if the chat comes in here. Give me 1 second. Says we're live. There is a little bit of a delay.
I'm seeing that it's saying you're live on your YouTube channel right now. Oh yeah, there it is.
Okay, so we should start seeing people filter in. Sometimes the notifications have been terrible with YouTube. Balls is already in there, but he was in there before we could even get this thing to go. I think with the new setup, it puts you like in a pending thing where people can go in there. All right, here we go. We got people starting to roll in here now. It'll take a second. All right, we'll let a couple people filter in, and then we'll formally do the introductions, and we'll start getting into it. So,
All
shout
right.
out.
Yep.
We kind of like to say what's up to people in the beginning. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. We're gonna give people a few minutes to pop in here. I will introduce our guest here in a second once we get a couple more people in, and then we'll get rolling with it. So,
Sounds like a plan, man. I like it.
all right, all right, all right, man. Let's get right into it. So. Tonight you are in depth with Defness again. I have a
Bring
special
it up.
guest. He is a Christian with many talents. He is a husband, father, teacher, collector, rapper, and a b-baller. Kyle Woelber, aka also known as K-Dub. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I don't know that I would say that I'm a master at any of those things, but I will put them on the list of things that I do. So,
We'll call them many talents. And before we jump into it or before we get in depth, I'm going to ask everybody how the sound is, especially on K-Dub's end. How is the sound, guys? Can you give me some feedback real quick?
yo, what's up, guys? Mic check 1 2 1 2.
There you go. A rapper would
How
know
we
that.
hearing?
How's the
uh,
sound, guys? Can we get some feedback real quick? I know there's a delay, but how is his sound?
We coming in live with Defness right now. In depth with Defness.
Is Glenn, Austin, Kendo, Kara, anybody? Sounds good. All right. I'm going to roll with it. All right, man. All
Okay.
right. All right, K-Dubs. So you're in here. We're live. Are you ready to get in depth?
I think so, man. I've been practicing the mirror all day, so I'm ready to go.
Well, hey, man. Looking good as always. So here's what I'm going to do tonight. Here's what I'm going to do tonight, K-Dub. I typically
Yeah.
like you sent me your master bullet point plan, and again, as I continue to get these from my guests ahead of time so I can kind of dive in, they continue to get better and better. There continues to be more and more, I guess, sent to me for me to dive into and digest. I typically like to kind of veer around and move around different things, but I think the way you
Yeah.
laid it out and the way you did it, I think I honestly want to stick with kind of rolling from one to the next, the way you already have it laid
Okay.
out. So how you
Okay.
kind of sent it to me is kind of how I'm gonna roll with this. Typically
Okay.
we'd go, back at childhood, collecting first thing. No, we're just gonna kind of go. We're gonna get there when we get there. We're gonna have you kind of chime in with things that I bring up or ask you, and we're really just gonna get to know you tonight. So,
Yeah,
the
man.
first
Sounds great.
thing, the first thing I want to know, and I'm gonna just say this on the record. I typically, you guys know me in streams and in everything else, I typically don't bring politics or I don't really bring religion into stream topics, debate topics, etc. And that's not what this is about. We're getting to learn my man K Dub. I'm not saying that I'm not a Christian. I'm just saying we typically only get to it. But this is one of his big things, and this is one of his big beliefs. So I want him to, I guess, give us the opportunity and tell us about becoming a Christian, when you became a Christian, also like what kind of impact it has on you in your life.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it, and I don't do religion either, man.
Right.
Religion says you got to work to earn something, and I if I worked as hard as I could, there's no way I could earn God's grace. So I'm right there with you, man. I don't, you know, my Twitter feed. I don't do politics,
Correct. Correct.
and I share a little bit of my faith. But
Yep.
yeah, man. I grew up kind of in a, I would call it a church going home. My family and I went to church on Sundays and did the Sunday school thing. But church for us growing up was really kind of an escape because we had some, you know, pretty big family issues going on. My dad struggled with alcoholism when I was in elementary school, actually causing my parents to separate for 2 years. Um, by God's grace, my dad, figured life out and what was important, and my family, my mom and dad are still together today, but we just kind of grew up going to church,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say that we sat around the dinner table and held hands and prayed and read the Bible every night,
Right.
but church was just kind of a routine thing. And then when I entered into middle school, high school, I really got turned off from the church because of the kind of church situation. I went to church on the other side of town, and my middle school was kind of in the lower income, kind of poorer part of town, and a lot of the kids just didn't really accept me, kind of pushed me away, and even so much so where I just kind of felt like I was an outsider anytime I'd go to the group. And I shared that with my mom, and she never pushed me to keep going, even though I didn't feel comfortable there. And I would say from like junior high to probably freshman to sophomore years of college, church just wasn't for me. I would say that I always knew there was a God, and I
Mm-hmm.
always believed that God was behind things, but following the way of the church just wasn't it for me. And it came to a point when I moved out on my own, and started going to college at a university about 2.5 hours away from where I grew up, that I started kind of asking those big questions of, what does life mean, and why am I here, and what's the
Right.
meaning of life. And God put me in the path of this dude, Jerry D. I'm still friends with him to this day. He's another hip hop head, basketball player, and this dude started to just kind of minister to me. Honestly, I mean, he started kind of asking me those questions. He started inviting me to this group called Campus Crusade at the college that I went to, and I kind of like blew him off, but he stayed persistent. And the thing that always kind of struck me about this guy is this dude lived out what he believed. I'd seen a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people who said that they were Christians and said they and went to church on Sundays, but on the weekends and during the week they weren't living that. And this guy had something different about him. And one Wednesday night, I took him up on his offer, and I showed up, and I went to the back of the room. I was probably wearing some oversized jersey and backwards hat, and I sat in the back of the room, and he came up and grabbed me, and he said, "Nah, man, you're sitting with me." And we went up front, and I kind of heard the message. I was like, this is kind of different for me to be up in front. And,
Mm-hmm.
they were singing the worship songs, and I just felt like there were some real people in here. And I continued to minister, or to let that dude minister into my life. And I ended up moving in with him the next year, and really started growing in my faith there. And I came to a point when I was at this winter conference thing, and I was in this room by myself, or with everybody else, but it was dark, and I was just kind of sitting by myself, and the music was playing, and I just kind of felt like God was pushing it on me, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
here's who I am, here's what I see in you,
Mm-hmm.
and I love you. And the only verse I really had memorized was John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And I just thought, if you're willing to do that for me, God, I'm willing to go all in on you. And I feel like that was a real turning point in my faith. And because of that, kind of decision,
Mm-hmm.
God has just continued to reveal himself over and over again in my life, whether it be in my job situation, whether it be in my marital situation, put me in the path of my wife. I would have never met my wife had I not, let God lead my life in that moment, because I met my wife in church.
Right. Right. Right.
And so, yeah, man. And then I think the biggest thing after that point was me seeking out the right people to kind of to plug into, and allow them to almost disciple me in a way, which I think is kind of the hardest part when people kind of say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. They
Mm-hmm.
want to continue to go back to those old people that they were hanging with, and not that you can't
Right.
still love on those people and be with those people, but you got to start getting plugged in with people who can kind of help you grow and mature
Correct.
in your walk. And so I started meeting weekly with the local pastor at our church, and he just basically, when we meet, it wasn't like, all right, tell me all the things that, no, he would just say, ask me questions. And so
Yeah.
I'd come in there with the most ridiculous questions, and we just talked about it. And there was never any like judgment or you should be doing this or you should be doing that. It was just a continued conversation. And so that's kind of where I'm at with my faith right now
Sure.
is I'm never going to push, but I'm
Right.
always going to keep my hand open and like, let's just have a conversation. And
Right.
so, yeah, man, that's a kind of a
And you
synopsis there.
and there's a couple things, and we're gonna segue into you being a husband here in a second, because you did bring your wife Tiffany up, kind of give us a backstory on
Yeah.
that. But one thing I want to add in here, a good thing I took out of what you were just saying there is, you can still have those friends, you can still have those other people that you used to hang out with. But it kind of goes back to saying with people out there, I've always had this said to me, and when I look back at my own, the times I was getting in trouble, who I was hanging out with, whatnot, there's always that saying of, show me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are, right? And it's kind of
No.
because typically, if you're with a bunch of people that are constantly getting in trouble, whether you're doing the same things or just hanging around it, you're kind of guilty by association, or you know what I mean, you're not telling these
Oh
guys,
yeah.
hey, don't do this or don't do that. So I think it's a good thing you bring up. I took that out of that as you were saying that, whether it's within within being a Christian, your religion, whatever, that doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it really is, it holds true. Point to who you hang out with, and I'll kind of tell you who you are once I get to see who these people are about. So
Yeah. There's
let's
a
go ahead.
there's a great proverb that says if you throw a big burning pile of coals on your lap, will you not get burnt? And it's
Right.
just like, it's true. I mean,
Yep.
you put yourself in position with people who are getting in trouble, you know, those
Yep.
people need to be loved and those people need Jesus just like anyone else. But,
Right.
you got to kind of figure yourself out before you get into the missionary work.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. So 2009 comes around. You meet your wife Tiffany. You just kind of give us the backstory, how you guys connected, how it all came about. You kind of already
Yeah.
touched on it through like your religion or through church, but give us the kind of
Yeah.
backstory here.
Yeah. So I was doing youth ministry in a local church in town, and we decided to do a sex series where we had a group from Spokane, Washington, come in and talk about abstinence and purity to the teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And on Thursday night, in walks this beautiful 20-something-year-old girl to teach these middle schoolers about abstinence and purity. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I'd like to hear a little bit about that conversation.
Right.
And, so she came in for a couple weeks speaking to the group, and we kind of got to know each other. And then just kind of through conversation, I found out that she was doing photography, and I was doing music at the time. And so I said, hey, I got this concert coming up. How about you come shoot some pictures for me?
There you go.
Because I need some professional pictures for posters and artwork and stuff.
Right.
And she was just oblivious. She was like, oh, sure, that sounds great. And so she came to the concert. She brought her friend with her. She took pictures. And then I didn't hear from her for like a month. And I thought, well, if she gets in touch with me, cool. And then she called me and she goes, hey, I have those pictures done. I'd like to get those to you. And I said, well, hey, let me take you to dinner as a thank you for doing those pictures.
Smooth.
And kind of slide into. She had no idea. She was oblivious to it. So we went out to dinner, and I think she talked 90% of the time because I was trying to. I mean, I was 25, 26 at the time, and
Yeah.
I was like, hey, is this girl going to be someone I can pursue? And so we talked. She talked pretty much the whole time, nothing about pictures. And then we got done, and I dropped her off back at her apartment, and she gave me the CD with pictures, and I said, well thanks for that. And then I gotta be honest, man, I'm usually like pretty cool with my words, but I was so awkward when we said goodbye. It was like, well, thanks. I hope that these pictures, and all right, bye. I mean, it was literally that bad. And I just walked out and I thought, oh man, I just blew it right there.
It's because you didn't want to say the wrong thing, You knew it was something.
I said at least I got some pictures out of this. And then that night she sent me a text and she just said, hey, thanks, I appreciate I appreciated dinner, and we had gotten her a gift card the church had, and she said, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And then, we just started texting, and after that, we hung out a couple more times. And I mean, I told you I was 25, 26, and so I wasn't like just hanging out to hang out.
Right.
I was kind of trying to dial it in. Hey, is this
Right.
a girl that I could pursue and potentially marry? And so we actually hung out for like 3 months, and I had done relationships pretty bad in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was super like standoffish. I think I hugged her. I gave her a side hug like one time in the
Hmm.
first 3 months, and so she had no idea that I was kind of pursuing her
Right.
as a potential interest. And I kind of dropped the bomb on her, and I kind of said, hey, I've been hanging out, and I think I'd like to, potentially date. And she's like, whoa, like, you like me? I was like, well, yeah, sorry for that. And then believe it or not, we took a whole month where we just kind of prayed about it and continued
Cool.
to like hang out, but
Yeah.
but we didn't really make a decision on dating because we wanted to do it right. And
Mm-hmm.
and she had made this crazy bet in seventh grade with a friend that she wasn't gonna kiss. Her first kiss was gonna be on her wedding
I
day.
was gonna bring that
And
up. Yep. Yep.
yeah, and so we made the decision to start dating on September 1st of 2009. And I actually went to her parents before I started dating her, and I was like, hey, I just want to get your blessing on asking your daughter to date. I want you guys to know that I'm not going about this lightly. Like, I'm
Right.
going to pursue this thing like I'm going to pursue someone I want to marry. And so we started dating, and then we went a year and a half. And through that year and a half, we were really like, we never said I love you. We never talked about when we're married, but we really tried to understand what marriage is and what a godly marriage looks like and what a godly family would look like. And then January of that next year,
Mm-hmm.
so it would have been 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I proposed to her, and then we got married on July 31st of that summer. And then she won the bet with a friend, and we had our first kiss on the altar. Her first kiss
Yeah,
on
I
the
was just gonna
altar.
ask
Our
you, was it
Yeah,
your first kiss though?
it was not, man.
He
I,
had
I dropped that.
he had
I
this
dropped that in eighth grade.
he had the big smiley face after it was not mine. However,
It
I
was
believe in
not,
my
man.
bullet
I
points, so that's
No,
awesome.
man.
So she's a
But it's
photographer,
it's yeah,
and
it's
what
funny.
else?
I'll tell you a quick funny story. Uh, I like I said, it was not my first kiss, and I always had a joke in college with my buddies. I said, I bet when I get married, I'll marry a girl that has never kissed a guy before.
Look
And
at that,
then God, in His divine
crazy
sense of
man,
humor, made it happen. So
crazy,
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So you touched on her doing photography, and then did she do anything else, or was she doing anything else besides you said she was working within the churches or something,
Yeah,
doing the
yeah.
speaking.
So when I met her, she was a student at Eastern, the college that we graduated from.
Yep.
She was pursuing psychology, and then she later got into school counseling. So she's actually been a school counselor for 6 years, and then this year she actually decided to stay home with the boys full time. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. So you guys get married. She has her first kiss. She wins her bet, but not your first kiss. And then you guys decide to start building a family, right? There comes a time
Well,
here soon where you become a father?
yeah, so kind of, I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit, but
Sure.
we kind of said, hey, we'd like to be married at least a year, and then kind of start talking about kids. And then when we hit our first year mark of marriage, is when everything kind of started happening with my Crohn's disease, and got my
Okay. Yep.
diagnosis,
Yep.
got super sick, and so that was about like a year and a half, 2 years before we really kind of figured out kind of how life was going to be with that and how we were going to do that.
Mhm.
And with kind of the ups and downs of my health, which I know we'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
we didn't want to put ourselves in a situation where she was having to do anything when I wasn't able to be present. And
Gotcha.
so yeah, we went 3 years before we had our first son, Camden.
Yep.
So it was a little
Bam
bit of a
Bam.
stretch
He's got
for
a
us, but
nickname, right?
now Bam Bam Cam, yep, the leg.
A lot of you, a lot of you guys know. Are we still on? You got audio?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
still
okay,
got you.
okay. It cut out for a second. I didn't know if we lost or something disconnected.
Oh, yep.
So a lot of you
Nope.
guys know Bam Bam Cam. How old is he?
Cam is 4. He's gonna be 5 this summer.
Okay, and then you got another son as well, correct?
Yeah, I got another son, Roman. He'll be 2 this month. And then we got the third one on the way due in June.
Yep. And Bam Bam Cam is kind of becoming Twitter famous for anybody that follows K Dub. He's a big fan of a former Minnesota Viking running back.
Yep.
Played for the Redskins fair recently. Who was Bam Bam Cam's player that he PCs collects? Big fan of.
Well, he's a big fan of Adrianson Peterson is how he says it. But
Adrianson Peterson. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
So tell me about now. I mean, I just like to relate everybody that I always interview or talk to on this show. But tell me about what kind of impact or what change you saw within your life once you had a child, once Bam Bam Cam was born, right? So once he was
yeah.
born, what kind of impact? I mean, it always has an impact on all of us, right? But is there something, a word or something you could describe, a way of how it impacted you, your own personal life with having your first child and now having two and a third one on the way?
Oh yeah. So a couple guys told me, they said, when you see your kid for the first time, you'll never have loved anything as much as you love
Mm-hmm.
something that you've never met before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of didn't believe that because I wasn't a super like attachment kind of guy. It just wasn't my personality. And then, man, when my first son Camden came into the world, I was an emotional wreck, man. And I honestly I loved him more than anything, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know it. And it just happened. And so the way it changed me, man, is just like I'm so much more like loving and generous
Right.
and like because I know that I have something that is truly invaluable. And so it's made me a better person. It's made me a better, more patient person,
Yep.
a kinder person, a more generous person because I now have this little dude who looks up to me and sees everything that I do.
Right.
And so I want to be the best example that I can for him in everything. And that doesn't mean that I do everything right.
Right.
But in the moments when I do it wrong, I make sure to let him know, like, here's where daddy messed up. And here's, daddy's sorry. And so I don't know. I guess it's just made me more aware of who I am and the things that I
Yeah.
do and the things that I say.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, and like I always say, you start having little ones that you've created. It gives you a different outlook. It gives you a sense. It gives you a different sense of purpose, I guess. In everything you do. You're
Oh, yeah.
actually getting up every day, and you're doing something. You're trying to achieve something for somebody else, and someone that's your own blood, and someone that you have to
Oh, yeah.
feed. You have to make sure that they're going to be able to be taken care of and fed and raised properly and in a good place and everything else. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's kind of segue into what you do as your own profession. You are a teacher.
Yep.
Really, what? I mean, I guess how long or how far back in your life was there? Was it early on growing up when you were kind of like, hey, I think I want to be a teacher? When did it click in your mind that, hey, you know what? I want to be a teacher. This is something that I want to do.
I can look back and in my childhood, and I never wanted to be a teacher. Up until I was in 8th grade, I was going to be in the NBA. And then I
We'll get
started
into
looking
that later.
around. I started looking around and realized that my skill set does not match the NBA caliber. But I had some really good teachers in my educational career. I had a great 7th grade teacher. I had a great 8th grade teacher. I had some great teachers in high school. And so I always appreciated teachers. I never looked at them like, oh, I'd never be that, because I thought, well, these guys are really cool, and I
Mm-hmm.
really liked who they were, and maybe I can do that. But I never thought about pursuing it until I got the opportunity to start coaching. When I graduated from college, I went to a community college that was in my town. And the next year, my high school basketball coach called me up and he said, "Hey, I'd like for you to come in and be on my staff and kind of do our freshman B team, which is the lowest level
Mm-hmm.
of basketball." And when I started doing that, I just really started loving working with kids. I always enjoyed. I started loving of being able to teach and coach. And coach to coach, really the best avenue is to teach. And so that's really
Right.
what drew me into teaching. But then when I got into Eastern and I started to uh, get into my educational requirements, and I started to have to be in the classroom every
Mm-hmm.
week, man, I just fell in love with it. And I fell in love with middle schoolers and just their awkwardness and their love for their teachers still, and
Yep.
their they're trying to figure out who they are, and they still think that you're like super cool even though you're not. And so I just really fell in love with that age and with doing that. And then as I started to start teaching lessons and being up in front, I loved it, man. And it's just it fills me every day. Like
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 7 years now. Where I live, I was a sub for 5 years, and a day doesn't go by. I mean, there's days when I'm like, oh man, I wish I could sleep in. But there's no day that I go to work and I'm like, ah, oh, this is a drag. Like I
Right.
love it. I love going to my job. I can't believe I get paid as much as I do. Not that I make $1 million, but I make enough to support my family, just
Right.
me. And um, so yeah, man, it's the greatest gig on the planet. And I heard something, if you love what you do, it never feels like work.
Right.
And I love what I do, and it's a great job, man. I got a great gig.
And the years, like, I mean, being in like you say, the middle school years, kind of that year range. I mean, honestly, I would say between middle schoolers and high schoolers, well, you could say college too, I guess, but you really, if you're a model teacher, if you're someone that kids really respect, look up to, you show that you care for them and stuff. I mean, you hear about it. You hear stories about kids who who come back, or you hear about down the road, maybe even a professional athlete, and says,
Yep.
I had this teacher in middle school, or I
Yeah.
had this teacher in high school, and they literally changed my life. They changed my outlook. They actually showed a sense of care for me, and they really changed my attitude and changed my mentality on how I went about life. So I think it's
Yeah.
huge. I think it's awesome that you do that. I think I we can always tell. We see your postings and stuff if you're on Twitter and whatnot, that you really love your job and you really care for your kids. And I think the love and the passion for what you do has really shown reward as well, because if I'm not mistaken, there was something you got in your own district in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. What was that? What was
Oh
that?
yeah. So we have every year they do a kind of like it's the like the Teacher of the Year award where the staff kind of writes in and votes, and then a couple other the admin people come together. And yeah, man, I got nominated and I won the award for our kind of district Teacher of the Year, and I
It's
got to
huge.
go to a fancy dinner and get a nice plaque that goes on my wall. So yeah, man, it was a really cool honor, and I know that there's a lot of great teachers in our district, and
Right.
I'm just super pumped that people took notice to kind of what I was doing, because I do things a little bit differently than a lot of teachers, and so it's cool when your peers kind of notice that the things that you're doing is making the same difference, if not a bigger difference, in the lives of the middle schoolers and high schoolers. So, and we have a lot of it's a small community that I live in, so a lot of the teachers' kids are a part
Mm-hmm.
of our school, and
Right.
so it's cool when they can kind of see what's going on in my classroom and how I'm doing things. So
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome too. Like, you know, again, you say you have your own style of doing things, and that's how it should be. Everybody should bring their own style or sense of anything
yeah,
they do, no matter what you do. I mean, it just adds your own personality, your own uniqueness and whatnot. So let's
yeah,
let's kind of roll in. We got the teacher down, we got the father down, we got the husband down. let's get in. Let's talk a little bit hobby now. Let's talk about you as a
Yeah,
collector, right? So now we get into the
yeah.
collector start. So K Dub, I mean, when did it all start for you in the hobby?
Yeah, man. Well, I kind of shared a little bit. When I was in elementary school, and my parents had separated, I went to my dad's on the weekends. And one thing that my dad and I would do is we would go to the card shop together, and we would just go and spend a couple bucks or get a couple packs. And so I would say that that's really what started me.
Mm-hmm.
And in a time when my life was really kind of chaotic because of the family situation. Uh, Cards were kind of my safety. I could go to my room. I could, look through my cards. I could put them in top loaders. I could put them in sleeves and cases, and that was kind of my safe space. And that kind of continued into middle school as I went from my elementary to a new middle school, and and I found some dudes in there that were into cards, and we would go to this card shop, once a week after school, and it continued to be kind of my safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept my tote, my cards in a nice little spot and in my room, and I'd get them out and look through them. And so that's really kind of where it stemmed from, was my dad kind of introducing me to cards, and me kind of taking it as this is something that I can control. As weird as that sounds,
Yeah.
I can control how my cards look. I can control where they go, and so that was kind of the beginning of collecting. So I owe a lot of that to my dad, and I don't know that my dad was really into cards, but he knew that I was into sports, and he knew sports cards were a great way to kind of connect you with your kid.
Would you say that? I mean, so would you probably say that your dad or your father was probably the one to inspire you to collect or to get into the hobby? Or is there anyone else that you
Yeah,
would think that maybe or
yeah. No, I think it would definitely go back
yeah,
to my dad. I
yeah.
think he's kind of the one that got me into. And then, like I said, a little group in middle school, that those guys started collecting, and so, or that I knew collected, and so we would kind of hang out, talk cards, and trade at school, and so. But yeah, I
Okay.
would definitely think that the beginning of it was definitely my dad.
So you said it's your safe. You said it's your safe place. I mean, what?
One one
Yeah.
1 second,
No
Jeff. I got
worries,
to get
man.
my.
No worries.
Hey bud, you got it. Camden, can you get Rome and you guys go out to the room with mom, please? Okay.
It's all good, guys. We got to work around kids.
Oh
Little
yeah,
ones, little ones.
yeah, little ones, man. So anyway,
So
sorry.
no, it's good. So you kind of said that you use a hobby as a safe place. Excuse me. What? So
Yeah.
what does the hobby for you? What does it mean to you? Like what does the hobby mean to you?
Uh, I think the hobby is I don't know. It's something bigger than yourself when it comes to sports.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason we get into collecting, the people who collect to collect, is because of sports. And obviously, all of us probably played sports, and were participant in sports at some time or another. But eventually, that's going to end.
You're
Even the
right.
greatest athletes have to retire. And so I think it gives us, a true connection still to the sports that we love, whether that be, football or basketball or baseball or even hockey.
Right.
Some guys get into NASCAR. So I don't know. I think it really kind of connects you in a bigger scheme to sports than just watching it on TV or
Right.
following it on the internet. So
And there's one thing too, guys. For you guys that don't really know K Dub, you're just starting to get to know him tonight, watching this. When we talk about racks and we talk about random acts of kindness, this is one of the guys that really puts them together. That really does a lot of them, and I think a big part of him, and he can chime off me, but I think a big part of him and a big part of what he loves about the hobby, like a lot of us do, is really the connection within not only the players, relating with the players, but also the people
yep,
and ultimately really making it bigger than cardboard. Like Balls has got his little hashtag where cardboard meets community,
yep.
but the racks and things, like putting smiles on people's faces, making people's days, bringing somebody up when they're down, that something's going on. I mean, is that true? Is that something that you would say is a firm statement in
Oh
regards to
yeah. I
you?
mean, for me, the most important thing about the hobby family is the family.
Yeah.
When I think of the hobby, I think of the collecting and the cards, but when I think of the hobby family, it's the relationships and the friendships that we got, and just those, like you said, those little things that go a long way in people's
Right.
lives that sometimes we don't even know the difference that something silly like sending a piece of cardboard with a signature on it can do to somebody's life.
Right.
It's really amazing, and the hobby family is just it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy cool to be a part of it, and to be like I always tell people when they say, hey, great job on this. I said, no, I'm just part of the team because it
Right.
truly is. We're a hobby family that's
Yep.
a team, and yeah, man, it's an awesome thing. It truly is.
And like I always tell people too, like it's you thank not only people that donate when you put racks together, anyone who simply retweets, spreads the love, brings
Yeah.
awareness. I mean, you don't have to always donate to be a part of it and help spread it and help it. It's just getting the word out there. But I'm gonna bring up something real quick before we move on into your next specialty or talent, if you will. Is like just seeing, like, even I'm gonna point to Jimmy Guns again. I talked about this in my Sunday shoutouts, but like how you can take how you can ask people if they want to donate $5 and how quick $5 can add up. And now I'm not saying everybody's just donating $5, but when you ask a group of people and you got 50 people in a stream or in a room or in Twitter, you got how many thousands of followers or whatever, and you say, hey, who wants to jump in and donate? It's amazing how fast you can get to $250. It's amazing how fast you can get to $500. And it's not about the money, right? You can get a car for somebody that's $20 or $5 that has big meaning, and it's just the process of doing it. But what I'm getting at is it's so simple and so easy, and I continue to urge and push others out there who haven't led a rack or haven't been like, I know the perfect person that I feel like we should rack, and hey, I got this great idea, and just lead it and ask people and see if they want to jump in and do it. Just don't force anybody into doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's, at the end of the day, you're going to get people that want to be involved. You're going to get people that want to do it, and it's going to brighten someone's day. It's going to make somebody's day, night, week, month, year, whatever. I mean, it's simply amazing the things you see or we see that everybody does, and it's incredible, man.
I'll share a quick story on Jimmy
Yeah.
Guns since you brought him up.
Yeah.
Jimmy is one of the first dudes that I really kind of connected with on a friend level.
Yeah.
When it comes to Twitter.
Mhm.
Made one of my first trades with him. But I'll never forget. It was February, a couple years back, and my wife and I do this thing called Frugal February, where we don't spend any money outside of our necessities for the whole month, just to kind of get the budget in. And I got this package in the mail, and I opened it up, and it was a Gary Payton autograph. And I mean, a Gary Payton autograph, probably, 20, 30, $40.
Right.
To me, it was like $1 million card.
Right.
I mean, it was absolutely like, I was like, had a tear in my eye. I was so blown away that someone would think enough of me to put, 20, 30, $40. Not saying, and I'll talk about the next piece to it in a second, but that someone was willing to do that was pretty incredible. And it moved me, man. And it moved me to see that these cards are just bigger than just cards. And I think those are things that, my wife has slowly seen through this process of collecting with my son, that it's more than just cards. And I know you said, something about how fast things add up. I remember the first kind of group thing that I did was for my buddy Craddy. It was his birthday. And I just thought, hey, maybe we could pick him up a cool Santana Moss auto that are like $20 or $30. And so I grouped together maybe 15 or 20 people that I knew kind of were in our circle, and I just said, hey, I'd like to get something going for Craddy. Who each pitch in a couple bucks, $2-3, and we could get it for him. And by the end of the thing, man, we had gotten like Clint Portis, a John Riggins. I mean, just amazing autographs. And it just happened like that, man.
It's quick.
And no one, it was no pressure, and it was no like, hey, you got to give, more than your means. And that's never the goal of racks. And whenever I kind of put them together, I'm like, I always make sure that's out there. Like, this is not a pressure thing. And if your finances don't allow it, don't be foolish just to be part of a rack.
Right.
We can be a part of a rack in so many different ways. It's not just a card. It can be an encouraging text message or a tweet to someone, or it could just be a simple like gesture of, I remember one time I knew a dude was kind of having some hard times. I didn't have, cards that I could send him. So I just wrote him a letter.
Right.
And, it can be something simple like that to send them. And those things mean the world.
Here's another good idea. And I'm going to shout out my boy Matt Balls. He probably about a month or two ago, I think it was, he had a buddy of his who had lost his father. This is like the first year on his birthday that he didn't have his dad or his father around. And he simply went into a group chat on Twitter and said, "Hey guys, can you just do me a simple thing? Can you say happy birthday to this dude? It would mean the world to him. It's his first year without his father because his birthday with his father was like one of this dude's biggest days or biggest things. They would always go do something special together or whatever.
Dad always did
something crazy special. And the amount of outpouring and help and like people just saying happy birthday to this dude, and the guy just just floored, like he didn't even know what to do. Like it made his day, and there was no money involved in that. It was a simple gesture of everybody just going in and doing it. But if Balls wouldn't have said anything, it would have never happened. There would have been the typical few people that probably would have just texted him if they knew it was his birthday. If he said anything or they knew it was, they would say, happy birthday, whatever, bro, whatever. But instead, Balls took it upon him and said, hey, man, I want to do something special for this guy, but we don't need to buy him anything. We just simply need to wish him a happy birthday. It's his first year without his dad being around. And guys, think of things like that. Like, it's those simple things that just floor people, especially when they're only getting a couple of people on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever, and now you can tell a whole group, hey, can you guys do this for me, for a friend, someone I know, and boom, everybody goes and does it. And again, it's another way. Yeah, it was shout out Balls, man. Shout out to you as well. Yeah. And again, I'm gonna touch on one thing too, like you're saying, like how fast it happens. Like you guys would be shocked. Like anything that I've ever decided on or anything that I've ever been involved in, someone's asked me to be a part of. Like, you're literally, a lot of times, depending upon what you're shooting for or what your goal is, you're usually thinking, this is going to take a week. This is going to take 2 weeks. Like, we're doing it ahead of time. And you're there that day. You're there 2 hours later. You're there 5 hours later. In an auction or in a gun stream or wherever, you're there in 5 minutes. I mean, it's that fast, it's that quick, and people want to do good things. They want to do good for people, and that's what we need to keep pushing within this hobby, within our community, within our groups. We need to just keep pushing that positivity, because ultimately, guys, I feel like this is what's going to get us through, especially these times right now.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
All right.
I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but you put together a little rack for Eloy to get him a Kershaw.
Yeah, 101, yep.
And I remember that it was on a weekend, and I try to unplug as much as I can on the weekends from just phones and technology and stuff. And I remember you posted in the morning, and by 3 or 4 o'clock, you were like, we're good, guys, everyone's good. And so I messaged you. I said, hey, man, can I, you still need anything? You're like, nah, man, but I know that you want to be a part of this, so we're gonna add everyone to the list, even though it filled up so fast. I mean, it's really cool, man. It's cool how fast people rally for each other. I think that's the family piece.
And that's another thing.
People rally for each other.
And K-Dub, you touched on a good thing. That's another thing, guys, to think about when you do these racks. If you're shooting for a certain dollar amount and you decide that, okay, we're where we need to be because this is what we have our eye on and we're not doing anything else or doing this or that, if other people reach out to you and want to, don't, just because you're telling them they don't need to donate, don't not include them on the list, right? Because they're wanting to do it. Like, include them. They want to be a part of it. Just because you're saying, hey, you don't need to donate any money to us, include them, because it makes them feel good too, because they reach out, they want to be a part of it. You're saying, hey, we're there, we got it. But you're just doing a good thing, man. Like, it doesn't, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The person that's receiving the thing isn't getting a list and isn't seeing each donation and what people did or none of that. It's simply the list of people that are involved. So I would say it's another good practice that we could all work on and we could all do if other people reach out and want to be a part of something.
My favorite is always when the people that are getting racked reach out to be part of the rack.
Exactly.
That's always my favorite.
Guns.
That's always my favorite.
Guns. When we did the Flaherty jersey, he reached out to me, and I was already thinking about doing Buckeye Card Nut, but I was going to wait. I was going to hold off. And that's when you guys were all like, because I did the Buckeye Card Nut, you guys were all like, man, I would love to, but we're like stacking these too quick. Well, I had to do it because Guns reached out to me about his own rack, and I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah, I'm looking to get Buckeye Card Nut, this cool, like, nasty Baker Impeccable or whatever it was. Like, I knew he didn't, or Immaculate or Impeccable, one of the high dollar ones, and I knew he didn't have anything like that. And right when he did, I'm like, I gotta think quick. And I'm like, well, I was gonna do one for Buckeye, so here we go. We're just gonna start it. Like, whoever can help, they'll help. I'll figure out the rest, and we'll go from there. So yeah, it's crazy, man.
I remember Timmy Ahern. We got him a TiVo auto.
Yeah.
And he reached out to us, and so he put in $20. So I put $20 back in there with the phone.
Yeah.
Said, sorry to keep you in the dark, man, but here's your 20 back.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna do to Guns at first. I was just gonna send it back once he received it, like when he opened it. I was just gonna PayPal him back $20 or whatever. But then I'm like, you know what? No, we already wanted to do another rack for someone else. We'll just put his towards that. So.
That's awesome.
All right.
That's awesome, man.
All right, guys. So let's so you consider yourself a rapper? I'm just joking with this here. So another talent we would say, or another thing you like to mess around with or mess with. We see him on Twitter all the time. You just posted one the other day about, some old school rap, like doing a little video. So what, I mean, is it because growing up you listened to rap, or was it because you just, something you're good with rhyming words, or what?
So when I was in elementary school, I hung with this dude, and his older brothers, they were a little rough, but man, they would just listen to Tupac all the time.
Tupac was my dude.
I'm just a white kid from the suburbs,
right?
But I would hang out at this house, and I would just hear nothing but Tupac, and so that's really what kind of turned me on to rap music. And so obviously, his older brothers were the coolest thing in the world, man. So we wanted to listen to what they were listening to,
right.
And so I started getting into rap music and falling in love with hip hop and rap music. And that kind of continued into high school with just doing some little raps for our school, homecoming assembly.
Yeah.
Freestyling with buddies on the weekend or whatever. And then it kind of in college, I continued, loving hip hop. And then I had always been into writing, but I never recorded any music. And then when I was in college, a dude that I knew that did the musical worship at the Wednesday event, he knew how to get in the studio at the college. And so we got in there and we just started messing around and recording some songs. And that was back in the MySpace days.
Yeah.
So I started posting some of those tracks on MySpace. And I mean, it wasn't millions of people, but, people from the college and stuff would,
right.
Like the song, or they would talk about it. So it just kind of snowballed from there, and I started, getting more serious about my faith. And then as I began getting more serious about my faith, my focus on my music really started to change, and it became kind of a platform for me to share my faith. And I really started to understand, mixing and doing music and recording and all that stuff. And so I was able to do a couple albums that people actually, gave me a couple bucks for, and was able to do shows all over the Northwest here, from Oregon to Washington and Idaho. And yeah, man, it was a really cool time to be able to do the rap thing for a little bit.
Yeah.
That is actually where K-Dub comes from.
Yeah.
That was my stage name for my hip hop stuff.
So I'll tell you a little story too. As I was reading through this, doing my study up or whatever for this interview, something clicked back when I was going through getting confirmed, going to church and stuff. And we were going to church for a little while, like me and the family. And like I said, I'm a Christian. I just don't really get into talking a lot about it, and I don't go to church every Sunday anymore. And I haven't for a while. But when I was going through confirmation to get confirmed and stuff, the church actually put on a talent show, right? And I was always a Tupac too. I was always in all that. Tupac was my favorite, man. I had Tupac posters all over my wall. I think my mom wanted to kill me. With whatever, but Thug Life and whatever, everything all over the walls. But I had longer hair, like I would shave it all around, and I had longer hair, and I'd dye it like blonde sometimes, whatever. And so I got all my hair braided, and I wrote a rap that I did that was church worthy, but I did at the talent show, so I actually performed a rap. Yeah, man, it's crazy. So. You have a name K-Dub. Did you have any other rap names besides K-Dub, or was that always the one that stuck with you?
Before I answer your question there, when I was in high school, man, I got my hair braided twice. So you and I got things in common.
Nice.
So I had cornrows.
Can't do that now myself, but
No way, man. No way. My wife would kick me out the house if I did that.
I couldn't even grow it to do it, man. It would be like.
I'll tell you though, that's one of the worst pains I've ever felt in my life was getting my hair braided.
Oh yeah.
Because that was like constant 2 hours of yanking and pulling on my not braid type hair.
Yep. I had the couple. They used to call me. So this was like when Jeffrey Dahmer, like back in the day when I used to freestyle rap with my boys, like. They'd call me the lyrical Dahmer, obviously Def Jeff would come into mind, Defness. Yeah, man, there was also the one my actual rap name when I did the church thing, it was one of my other boys and his brother and his brother's best friend, like they were recording tapes, like they were in high school at the time. We were like 8th grade, 9th grade, but they were like juniors, seniors. They would actually, and that's all they would do. Like they would give out these tapes to all their boys and stuff, like in high school, and you would hear everybody playing like all their rap songs. Like one dude went by the name of Lucifer, and the other one was B-Ray or something. But yeah, they called me. My name was Kid Styles. I used to call myself, and then my boy was Wicked Paulie. So yeah, man, it was. We recorded a couple songs ourselves. When I was in that time frame, I actually bought like a switchboard thing, and I had that's when cassette tapes were popping.
Oh, yeah.
And we would and we would take instrumentals, play it in one, and then we would have the other record tape. We'd play the beat through, and then we'd record and have the mic set up and go at it.
I remember my first rap that I recorded was in high school, and I had a karaoke machine plugged into a double cassette tape CD player, and with a karaoke microphone, and that's how I recorded my first. It was in my little brother's room. He wouldn't let his karaoke machine leave his room, so
man,
I had to do it in his room. So
that's so awesome, awesome. So the next talent, and you touched on a little bit. You did some coaching of it, and you touched on a little bit, saying that your skill set wasn't matched up to probably what it was for NBA or for a pro ball player, but you also consider yourself a b-baller, a hooper. So
yeah, man, I love basketball. Basketball has been my sport since I was a kid. I played baseball and football, but naturally when I got into middle school and into high school, basketball became really my true passion. Basketball was everything when I was in high school. When you get home from school, you go out in the backyard, you be shooting, you be, practice, summer leagues, winter basketball. And, man, I love the game of basketball, which is funny because I don't collect basketball like really at all. And I honestly don't follow the NBA at all.
Interesting.
But I love to play. It's still like my only source of real cardio that I get is I play basketball weekly. I still work out when I need to really get in shape. I just go down and do my basketball drills that I did back when I was in high school. So
could you dunk when you were in high school?
I could not dunk in high school. I didn't start dunking until I was like 19, 20. I don't know if it was just I I wasn't as like I wasn't lifting weights, and I wasn't trying to get super
Yeah.
strong.
Yep.
I wasn't doing plyometrics. I just kind of like let my body naturally do it. So yeah, when I was like 19, 20, I started being able to pack it. But I could never palm a ball, so I'd always have to lob it to myself
And then do it.
to dunk it.
Do
But
you do
um,
you remember those strength shoes? The ones
oh,
you would wear, and it would make you like walk, and you could play on them
yep,
too. You'd have to be on like the balls of or the toes of your feet,
yep,
and it would like just
yep,
because it was constant calf, like it was because your calves would always be
yep,
flexed basically. Yeah, we
yeah.
had
When I
some
was
guys that used those big time, like growing up, and there was a couple guys that I had a couple buddies of mine, a couple white dudes too, that they had some serious pop. Like, and
yeah.
and they weren't that tall either, like just a little bit taller than me, and I'm only like 5'10", 5'11", so
Yeah,
like,
when I was in middle school, my buddy and I got into jump soles, which were kind
oh
of the
yeah,
knockoff strength
yeah,
shoes.
same thing. Yep,
Yeah, I
nice.
some jumps.
So talk a little bit about Hoop Fest. Did we lose him? K Dub, did we lose you? Did we lose K Dub? I think he froze up on us. K Dub, you still there, brother? Uh oh. K Dub, your
Yeah.
connection.
Oh yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
all
man,
right.
I got you now. Yeah,
You're
there we
good. You're
go.
good.
Sorry.
So talk a little bit about Hoop Fest.
Oh yeah, man. Hoop Fest is like my Christmas, birthday, and Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, my birthday, 4th of July, kind of all rolled into one. That's my 1 week in a year where my wife says, "This is your weekend.
Nice.
Whatever you just." So it's the largest 3-on-3 basketball team tournament in the world. 5,000 teams from all over the world come to Spokane, Washington. Spokane closes its whole downtown, and it's literally just wall to wall basketball. And it's
Nice.
Saturday, Sunday. It's amazing, man. It's my favorite thing. I love the event. I would go even if I wasn't playing, but I play every year. This will be my 11th year in a row. I
Wow.
had to miss one because my buddy married on that day. Selfish guy, but this will be my 11th straight. So yeah, it's
Wow.
awesome, man. And I play with the same group of dudes every year. So it's kind of like our reunion. Two buddies from college and then my little brother, and we come together and we wear ourselves ragged for 2 days,
Yeah.
and then we go normal lives again.
Nice. All right, so let's wrap this up in our last segment of the interview. So you touched on this a little bit in the beginning. You brought up you do have Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
So when did you find out? When were you diagnosed with it? Kind of
Yeah,
touch on it.
yeah, I was diagnosed in 2011, and I was actually diagnosed first with ulcerative colitis, and then the next year when I had another major kind of health crisis, they called it Crohn's disease, but they're kind of one and the same. They're both from the same family of diseases, but yeah, 2011 was definitely, honestly a year that was kind of exciting because I got married and my wife started our life together.
Mm-hmm.
But then moving into the later part of the year and then into 2012, it was rough, man. And
Hmm.
I was sick for a lot of times. And when I finally got diagnosed, I was in such bad shape that I ended up getting hospitalized for just a little under a month. I had to get some blood transfusions and a PICC line, labs, tests. I mean, it was a pretty scary season, especially scary for my wife because my wife and I had been married, just over a year, and here
Right.
she's sitting at her husband's bedside when there were a couple moments, and I wouldn't say that I almost died or anything, but there were a couple moments where the doctors were kind of going, "Hey, if he doesn't come out of this, this could get really, really bad.
Oh
Like
wow.
it's bad right now." So, but yeah, praise God that I was able to kind of get out of it and kind of regain control of my health. And the last 6 going on 7 years now, we've had a pretty strong stretch of zero setbacks, using diet as a means to medication. Not saying
Right.
that works for everybody, but
Right.
my wife and I have really kind of devoted our life to kind of making our dietary way of eating and work for the Crohn's disease.
So you also touched
man.
on, you also touched on though that you put in here stuff that I'd gone over. You also touched on that you felt like it was a blessing, like you having Crohn's disease was a blessing. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, man, that's a hard one because I think a lot of times we think those questions of, why do bad things happen to good people? Not that I would call myself good, but I definitely had those questions of like, why is this happening to me? I'm
Mm-hmm.
a youth pastor. I'm a teacher. I did everything right as far as marrying my wife. I'm trying to be a godly man, and through that, I've gained some pretty amazing relationships with people that I never would have encountered in my life if I wouldn't have got diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Sure.
One of my best friends, the only reason we connected is because his wife was writing a blog on kind of his struggle, which was crazy mirroring to mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we connected, and we're still close friends to this day. I've learned so much about how my body works to where, now I don't. I still love my doctor, and I trust my doctor, but I trust myself more with my body and the decisions being made as far as how to manage my Crohn's disease. My relationship with my wife has grown tenfold as a result of it. I mean, I was able to see my wife of just 1 year stay at my side every single night for 29 days in a hospital, sleeping on a cot. Man, that's love, man.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have fully seen that if we wouldn't have went through those times together. And then, man, I've been able to just talk to and support and love on so many people who are in a situation that I was able to come out of. And so I've been able to be featured on some blogs on the internet and do some interviews with some health groups, just sharing my story. And it's not like I got it all figured out and this
Right.
is how you Crohn's disease, but this is how you kind of walk through life differently after getting diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So I don't know that it's a blessing like every day I wake up and go, man, I'm so thankful I have an incurable disease, but
Right.
I'm definitely thankful for the fruit that's come out of a bad situation in my life.
Yeah, I think and I always go by, and I say this all the time, and people probably hate me even saying it by now, but I always say everything in life happens for a reason. There's a purpose
Oh,
for
absolutely.
everything, whether you find out today, next week, a month from now, a year from now, towards the end of your
Yeah.
life, whenever. There's a purpose or a reason why everything happens, and all the struggles, everything that's put in front of you, all the trials,
Oh,
tribulations, everything that's put in front of you,
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it, it all happens for a reason. It continues
Yeah.
to, I feel, mold us and build us and make us who we are, and how we live and how we approach things. Like you just said, you and your wife
Yeah.
now are devoted to a different diet, a different lifestyle of eating
Mhm.
that should improve or should help what you're going through with your Crohn's disease. So
Oh, yeah.
I respect you
Yeah.
for that, man.
Appreciate it, man.
That kind of wraps everything up. We got a couple of things I want to finish up here. Ask a couple of things. We'll kind of go
Yeah.
more hobby related, I guess, because
Oh, for
a
sure.
lot more hobby people in here. Even though we like to go through everything, and it's getting in depth. It's actually getting to know you, and I hope a lot of people that didn't know a lot about K Dub got something at least out of this,
Yeah,
as with
man.
every interview. His social media stuff is obviously in the description below, so you can follow him on Twitter. Make sure you guys do if you're not. Show him some love. He's always doing some fun stuff. He'll put a smile on your face. He'll post videos. He'll do some rap stuff. He'll put up challenges for other people to get in part of. I have to
For
actually
sure.
join one of those rap things one of these days. Maybe get a video tonight. We'll see what'll happen.
Yeah,
But
man.
but let's I guess, where do you? I always like to ask my guests this, a couple different questions that are hobby related. Where do you see the hobby? As long as everything in the world gets back to normal, right? We got things that we're fighting right now, but everything in the world gets back to normal. Where do you see the hobby, say, in 5 years, 10 years from now? Where's K
You
Dub see
know,
it?
yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think as crazy as this whole kind of stuff going on in our
Yeah.
world is,
Yep.
I think it's actually helped the hobby in a way.
I agree.
I just read an article today about how people, because we're quarantined to our homes, are kind of refining old hobbies that they had in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that on the Twitter community. I think there's a lot of people who, I've been following this kind of a Panini thing, the cards over COVID, Panini wild card, and I've been seeing a lot of people who really aren't like hobby, accounts kind of joining in and becoming a part of that. So I think that people are kind of refining their passions, maybe that they had when they were an elementary school or middle school, like a lot of us did.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say what's going to happen 5 years from now.
Right.
I think I watched a video the other day. Packers Cards 87 on YouTube was opening a box of National Treasures, and he said that when he got in the hobby in 2015, a box of National Treasures was $550 or something like that, and now it's like $1,200.
Right.
And so my worry is that if the hobby continues to become a business, we're going to see a lot of us kind of not lower end collectors, but just guys who do it with the extra, $5, $10, $20 they got.
Right.
We're going to get priced out a little bit. I think there's always going to be products like, and I can only speak to football because that's really all I know. But I think there's always going to be products like, Don Russ and Playbook and Illusions that are always going to be a little bit more kind of reasonable.
Right.
But my hope is that we don't see the business end kind of buy out the smaller end. So I think Panini's doing a lot of really cool stuff right now with the community. Being active and being a part and engaging with people.
Right.
I think that will kind of help them hopefully kind of measure up and see what the true heart of the hobby is. But I don't see it changing, man.
Yeah.
I see us continuing to do what we do. I continue to see, dudes like, Buck City and Midwest and Mikey B. I'm trying to think of dudes that I see a lot interacting with people on Twitter. I see those kind of breakers continuing to kind of make their mark. Little groups, like I'm a part of a great breaking group called Smoke Breaks. With a guy on Twitter, Mitch.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, so I see like little groups like that being really helpful to continue the hobby moving forward, to continue growing the hobby. But yeah, man, I know some people are saying like, we're entering a junk wax and we're getting there.
Right.
I think there's a lot of production going on, but there's also more people in the world, and so there's more people looking for cards. So
right.
I don't know, and I like what Panini's doing with the variations and the rainbow chases and the stuff like that. I think they're doing good stuff to keep people vested and interested in the hobby. So
the one thing I don't like you said, you talk about like Packers 87 saying National Treasures are going from $550 to $1,200, and I get price has to probably increase as cost of living and everything else increases, but that's a big jump. But like even with like the basketball and stuff they've been doing now with because Zion's so big and Kobe White and Ja Morant, and they do these the Dutch auctions now, like on all these boxes, and I just feel like, I go into an LCS, like my guy Cal over at the ballpark, shout out to him, small old school, and he doesn't get direct. He has like an account direct with someone who gets it through them, and they get allocated whatever, and he never gets, when it comes to basketball, he could ask for and he'll never get a single box of like select basketball, optic hobby basketball, not even retail box of optic, like the not the blaster or the cellos, but the retail box. He won't get any of that stuff. And here's what I worry, and here's what I see, and I think the hobby's gonna be fine. Don't get me wrong. Don't take this as I feel it going bad. There's little things that I feel we should have that should improve, and I feel like they're holding all these allocations and they're telling people, oh, we don't have, you don't get that, or you're not going to be able to get that much allocation because this is a product we have. Because I feel like they're just sitting on it, just like for those Dutch auctions and everything else, so they can just wean in their money. I mean, let's look at Panini Contenders football this year, right? Yeah, I don't even know what it sells for right now. The price may have came down, but it was like up to like 300 to 400 to around $500. And shout out to Lance up North Collectibles, my boy Lance, who does all my back work for this channel.
Oh yeah.
But we were at LCS right after that stuff came out, and I saw boxes, and I was laughing about the price, and I said, "There's no way I'm gonna even mess with that stuff." And he goes, "I can get you a box." And I won't lose any money on it. And here's the price I'm gonna sell. Here's what I would sell it to you for. And you would be absolutely mind blown away. And he is not getting any crazy special different pricing than any other shop or anywhere else. They're just utilizing whatever to say this or that to just boost and make hundreds of dollars per box on the product versus what they would still be making money on if they sold it for $260, say. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, so those are the things I worry as well. What else? What's up? Go ahead.
Lance is the reason I don't buy retail.
Yeah, always buy hobby, right? ABH.
Always buy hobby, man. That little voice just, whenever I'm at the Walmart or Target, the little voice just whispers in my ear. Only buy hobby. So
I don't buy a lot, but I do.
Been retail free for like a year and a half
now.
So,
wow, completely.
Yeah. I'm through my sobriety.
Yeah, right, right. So let me ask you another question here. What's the craziest card you've personally pulled out of a pack? Maybe craziest either to you. It may not necessarily need to be. We may not necessarily have to look at value as far as if you looked it up or what it'd be selling for. This could be personally to you, because things have more sentimental value to them. So what's in your own opinion, what's the craziest card you've pulled out of a pack?
Man, I don't crack a lot of packs. I try maybe like a couple hobby boxes a year. Just to pick up. I pulled Matt Barkley 101 laundry tag.
Wow.
That was pretty cool out of Crown Royal. That's probably the most expensive card I've ever sold. I think I sold it for $50, and that was the most expensive card I've ever sold.
Yeah.
I pulled the Jameis Winston rookie auto out of Prism to 99. I pulled a David Johnson rookie out of Prism, rookie auto out of Prism when he was blowing up. I would say those are kind of my biggest pulls as far as like my own kind of pulls.
Sure.
I've hit a couple, pretty sweet cards and some breaks, but those are definitely probably my biggest pulls as far as my ripping packs go.
Okay. And one question I didn't ask you as well.
I did pull a Julio RPA. That's probably the biggest card that I pulled. I pulled a Julio RPA, and it was after. So Julio, he went like 3 years where he didn't sign anything. So a lot of his redemptions got fulfilled with other stuff. But I pulled it after that, and then Panini had him because he sent them all in. I think in like 2016 he went back and signed all his rookie stuff, and so I got that Panini. I think it was out of Totally Certified. But it's now in Javier Solis' kids.
Nice. Shout out Javier, our boy.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you this too. Who do you personally PC? Who do you PC?
Oh, well, I PC Vikings, man. So the Minnesota Vikings, I'm with you on that. So I'm a disappointed fan every year, but I'm an excited fan right now.
Right.
I think that even though this offseason they've done a few things that have broken my heart, I think they were the right moves for what they need. Forward. But Vikings. So I Thielen, Cousins. I don't do a ton of Cook. I like Cook, but I haven't got into PCing him yet.
Yeah.
And then I like all the old dudes, man. I like Moss and Carter.
Oh yeah.
John Randall. I even get Dante Culpepper stuff just because I really liked him. Of course, Adrian Peterson stuff.
Yep.
Pick up
Bam,
his
bam.
stuff all the time.
Yep.
And then Cooper Kupp went to the college that I went to. He's a Washington dude. And then T.Y. Hilton. I've always liked T.Y. Hilton. I respect his game. I like how he does things. So I have a nice little collection of him.
Nice. All right, man. Well, hey, it's been a good interview. Is there anything else? This is your time to shine on the stream here. Is there anything else I missed? Is there anything else you want to tell the people out there? A message you want to send them? Anything? The floor is yours, brother.
Well, it just reminded me of you ever watch that show Hot Wings on YouTube when they give like these 30 seconds for you.
Yeah.
But no, I think that the hobby family is a real thing. I know that there are people on Twitter who may not feel like they're super connected in it, and it's just a matter of interacting and reaching out.
Right.
Become a part of what it is. Don't just look at it and say, I want to be a part of that. Become a part of what it is. And so that's not just cards. That's not just selling and trading. That's not just breaks. That's just simply, interacting with people and connecting with people. Because in the end, that's what the hobby family is.
Right.
Relationships with others. And it's, I'm amazed at the dudes that I talk to on a regular basis. Majority of them are people that I've never met face to face.
Right.
I've met Jimmy Guns, and he gave me a nice Jimmy Guns hug. Yep, shout out to Jimmy Guns. I've met Eloy. I've met Andy Morris. I'm hoping to connect with some dudes over on the west side, like BT Hawks, Taylor, Greg, and there's a handful of other dudes that I have a chat with. I'd love to get over on the west side and chat with them.
Sure.
And then, I'd love to get to National one day.
Yeah,
and really connect with everyone, because that's what it is. It's the relationships. I love my cards, but I'm really thankful for the friendships that I've developed through those cards. And
maybe
man.
Maybe we'll have to try to figure something out. We'll have to do some kind of rack fundraising or whatever, like for Cleveland or something, and try to get you some help to maybe get you there, so it doesn't take a hit on the fam and the homestead too, though.
I wouldn't ask for something like that.
I know we know you wouldn't. We know you wouldn't ask for something like that. I'm just saying maybe we can when the time gets close, we can try to find or figure something out so you can make it.
I've been kind of stashing away. My wife knows, but I've been kind of stashing
she knows.
away a little bit here and there. And I was actually kind of hoping that maybe this summer I'd be able to get to AC, but we got the next kid coming into June, and I think my wife would say it's okay, but I would feel like a terrible husband if I left her with 3 kids under 5. So,
and I'm gonna be honest with you. I was excited for AC until all this stuff happened, and they still say that they plan on doing it, and we'll see if it actually really ends up happening. But I'd be shocked if it's anywhere near the turnout like it was last year or with everything. I would say jump it a year and back to Cleveland again. Hopefully everything will be somewhat under control. Life's back to normal. Yeah. And people want to go, and then we get that 50,000 plus people going in and out through those doors that week that it's going on. One thing I want to touch on real quick before we get off here, and I know we've been going for a while, and I'm sure you got to get to your kids. They're probably standing, staring at you or something, going, "Dad, when you getting off this dang interview?" And I I appreciate your time tonight, brother. It's been an honor. But one thing, real quick too, I just want to touch on quick, and I just want to say to everybody out there that he kind of said about connecting, communicating, being engaged, interacting. The one thing that I love the most, like especially when I fire up my stream and I'm looking at my chat when I can. Now again, I don't pay attention to you guys Monday nights during this stream because I'm giving all my focus to my guest so we can get through this interview. But any other night when I'm looking at the stream, at least for me personally, it's when I see that person that's either been hanging out for a while that hasn't said anything, or even the new person that isn't afraid to pop in and say, "Hello, everybody," or "Hi, everybody. It's my first time saying anything," or "my first time in the chat," and just like saying, "Everybody welcome them," or seeing it in anybody else's stream too, same thing. and people just start connecting. And I think it just makes, like, people shouldn't have to ever worry. If you're somebody out there that sits and watches these streams and you don't ever interact because you feel like you won't be accepted, or you won't feel like you won't fit in, or you feel like somebody won't. First of all, nobody knows who you are, what you look like, unless you get on you stream yourself and you show yourself, whatever. But second of all, nobody's going to judge you. No one's going to care unless you come in and you just are being negative and saying negative stuff to everybody. Then you're just going to be out of your way. But like, just don't be afraid to interact. Don't be afraid to say hi. Just, you're going to build such awesome friendships. You're going to find, and there's going to be certain people within the chat that you're just going to connect on a different level with. And you're going to, I mean, we've all built some incredible friendships through this. And a lot of it all started online via Twitter, in YouTube streams, wherever. And guys, I'm just telling you, especially if you're somebody who is leery on, should I chat or should I say anything in stream, or don't be afraid to do it, because the more the merrier. We're inviting you in, like in anybody's stream. I think that goes for anybody that streams. I'm sure they would say the same thing. So don't be afraid to. All right, K-Dub, it's about time that I'm going to let you you get to the family and be the husband and the father. You can take a break from being the stream star for a while and the collector, and probably don't have to rap and probably don't have to hoop right now. But dude, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise, man.
It's awesome to have you on here. I hope you feel like it went well. I hope you feel like we covered what you wanted to cover. I think we hit everything, man. I mean, I think we really did. I try to take time. I say this every week, but I get these ahead of time so I can dive into it to really get a feel of how we want to take it, so we can touch on everything. And next, so tonight, after we're done here, don't forget Chris Plowman will be having his auction. So make sure you head over there and show him some love. Jimmy Guns will be on this interview next week. So next Monday night, your boy Guns will be sitting in the seat there. And again, K-Dub, man, I hope everybody watching enjoyed it. I hope you guys felt like you took something out of it. Again, special guest K-Dub. I'm your boy Defness45, and this is another episode of In Depth with Defness. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Def.
Love you.